Hi, kindergarten, first and second grade leaders. We are preparing for February 3rd. And today we are going to talk about the Passover and the plagues. Your kiddos may really enjoy seeing some of the pictures of the things that happened during the plagues. God had all of the plagues happen as a way to try to turn Pharaoh's heart. But obviously Pharaoh was stubborn, and there were some things that in this time, well, I don't know that that's fair, but that he was also preparing Moses to be the leader of the people, to lead them out of Egypt. And so going to Pharaoh and asking for these things over and over again was helping prepare Moses as well. Your social activity this month, the series has been There You Are. You have your sheets in your areas. You can play this game a different way if you'd like to. You can continue to play it the way it's written on the paper. You'll separate your team into two teams, your group into two teams. Each team will choose a representative every time before the when the sheet is pulled up, they'll stand up, they'll make a noise, they have to guess who each other are, and then you can pull the sheet down and see if they guessed the right person. It should be a fun game for the kids to play together. You could also play it as kind of a parachute game if you wanted to do that. Then your small group activity is called Pretty Please. This is kind of like a Mother May I kind of game, but a little bit different. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose one kid to be Pharaoh. And that kid is going to stand outside of the group. The rest of the group are going to stand shoulder to shoulder in a line. And then kids are going to go down the line and make funny requests. They're going to make funny requests and say, "Pretty please, will you let me sniff your dirty socks?" And what they're trying to do is get Pharaoh to laugh. Now, we may need to remind our kids not to be totally trashy in all of this, but they are trying to make Pharaoh laugh. And if Pharaoh laughs, then you get a new Pharaoh. If Pharaoh doesn't laugh, then the next person gets to take a turn and ask a pretty please, will you? And then all of that winds up at the end and says, Moses and Aaron made important requests to Pharaoh. In fact, it was more like a demand. Pharaoh was stubborn and refused to obey God. Because the Israelites had faith to obey God, he passed them over when it was time for the last plague, the Passover. Each year, they would celebrate and remember that God had delivered his people and proved that he is the one true God. Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection have some important similarities to the Passover. And we're getting ready for Easter season soon. But before we get into that, it's good to know that the Passover was to help us prepare, to know that Jesus was not only going to be our Savior and our King, but he was also going to be sacrificed. And so this was God's way of helping the Israelites know that there was going to be sacrifice in who they were preparing, who they were thinking Jesus would be. Then your memory verse activity, you have your stand-up categories game. Call out a category, and kids who fit that category can stand up and recite the memory verse. Or maybe you want to play it backwards this time. Everybody who's standing up doesn't have to say it. Everybody who's sitting down has to say it. Just have fun with that. And then you can pray and dismiss your kids when their families arrive. Thank you so much for leading. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at any time. I am so pleased at how our small groups have grown, how our kids have grown, how our team is growing. So thank you for leading.